Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
So in my effort to fill this third speech, I was driving over this morning. I was hoping, that we would fill it, but we didn't. So I decided I'd step up and make an attempt to do this today. And I'm pretty excited to share this story with you because it's one of these. It has all the classic examples of the American dream. It takes an ordinary person like me and brings something incredible to his life. And I have a very good friend whose name is John Short. And John is one of the top art conservators in America. His talent is in painting. His clients range from the Rockefellers to the Duke family to doing the Alumni Center at UNC Chapel Hill to the Keenans. And so he's been a lifelong friend. Matter of fact, he was there when I was born. He worked for my father. My father owned a motorcycle company in Chapel Hill, and he was a student at UNC, and he was working for him in 1969 when I was born. Shortly thereafter, in 1972, John opened an art gallery in Chapel Hill called J.R. Short & Son. And he began his career. And he actually retired in 1999. But during the course of his career, he acquired this terracotta mask out in Pasadena in 1993 of Abraham Lincoln. It had never been cast. It was a mask, a face mask of Lincoln, and it just spoke to his heart. He never put it in his gallery. It was never meant to be sold. And it lived in his master bedroom for the last 25 years. About a year and a half ago, John comes to me and he says, "Clell, I've got this incredible sculpture of Abraham Lincoln, and it was meant to be a bronze." Well, interestingly enough, one of his restoration clients were Ed Walker and his wife, and they own Carolina Bronze, which is in Seagrove, North Carolina. And they've done national works, international works. They did the Reagan that's in our rotunda at the Capitol. And so I said, "John, let's go talk to these folks and see if they can turn this into a bronze." So we take our journey over to Seagrove, and we bring the little terracotta mask, and they go, "Yeah, absolutely, we can do that. That can be done." So we decided we're going to make this thing happen. We're going to fulfill the vision of the artist. And we go about this process, and I said, "John, we really need to know, do we have the rights to reproduce this mask? Is this something we can even do legally?" And so we got in touch with our attorneys, and we started learning more about the artist. And this is when it takes a really interesting twist. The artist was a gentleman named Robert Merrill Gage. Robert Merrill Gage was born in 1892 in Topeka, Kansas. He was classically trained. He went to the Beaux Arts Institute and also the Robert Henry School of Art. He trained in Paris. He came back and he was the understudy of a guy named Gutzon Borglum. And I don't know if any of you know who Gutzon Borglum is, but he did a little thing called Mount Rushmore. And Gage was Borglum's favorite protege. In fact, if you ever study Borglum, who's a character, you talk about narcissism, he had a little touch of it, but he referred to Gage as his fellow artist. And in fact, we have Gage's papers. Now we're going to be writing a book about Gage. And Borglum paid him the ultimate compliment by calling him his fellow artist. So Borglum wants Gage to go to Mount Rushmore with him to work on the project, but instead Gage gets an offer to go out to the University of Southern California to become a professor of sculpture. And in that process, he starts to do public works out in California. He does the electric fountain in Beverly Hills. I mean, he does many public works. Let me just back up just a little bit. His first commission was the seated Abraham Lincoln, which is at the Kansas State House to this day. And Borglum, in fact, went and lobbied for Gage to get that first public commission in about 1916. In 1955, Gage makes this little movie called The Face of Lincoln. Well, guess what? In 1956, it wins the Academy Award for Best Live Action Short Film. And this is a film where Gage takes a raw clay and he does a bust of Lincoln while he tells you about Lincoln's life. I mean, he was an authority on Lincoln. So now you're starting to see the picture. This little mask that we have is done by a master. He's known as America's sculptor. And it's been unknown to the art community, to historians. And the cool thing is it was done in 1956. It wasn't done in 1942 or 1968. It was done in 1956, the same year he won the Academy Award for the movie The Face of Lincoln. And what's really compelling about this sculpture is it has a poignant expression. Gage, Borglum, others, Walt Whitman saw Lincoln as a man of sorrow. So it captures this look of Lincoln, very poignant. I think is the best way I can describe it. And so Since this time, we have gone out, and we are now in, and this is so early, you guys are part of the story now, because this is still really early in the journey. But we just debuted this at Gettysburg at the Lincoln Forum Symposium 2 weeks ago. And Chief Justice Frank Williams, who has the largest collection of American it's a strange word, Lincolniana, which means Lincoln collectibles, he acquired it for his collection, so it will now reside at the Ulysses S. Grant Presidential Library at Mississippi State University. We're also in another, we've only sold 9. We're also in Washburn University's Mulvane Art Museum. That's where Gage started Topeka. So this is something that is happening that, again, it just goes to show you that incredible things can happen if you're open to them and if you have faith. I mean, anytime you're doing something that's risky or unusual, but to think about finding something, it's kind of like Paco Bell's Canon in D. The story is they found that, in the attic, I don't know, 100 years later, and now it's one of the most famous, classical tunes today. If you go to any wedding, you're going to hear it. So keep your eyes open, because we're now starting to get national attention by national historians, and I'm just honored to be a small part of it and to be a steward of this piece of American art. And at some point, I'll try to maybe bring it in and let you guys see it, because it's definitely worth seeing. So thank you for indulging me this morning, and have a great day.